Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. Currently I'm creating the third series and please help me lift this to another level by joining Patreon. And you can become part of these films. I'm starting series 3 soon with new characters, new concepts and storylines, and it all gets very exciting and I know you're going to love it. So today I thought it would be a good idea to talk about some of the questions I ask at the end of each film. So I've gone back to the first series and we're going to start right at the beginning and have a look over them. Just to say thank you for all the comments, and I do read them. I wish I could reply to all of them, but it just isn't possible. But they really go a long way and give me a lot of motivation to create more films and video work for you. As you guys know, at the end of each video I deliver a question in which I want the viewer to question yourself and reality. So I thought it a good idea before the third series begins, I go over some of the questions I ask at the end. So let's go back right to the beginning and go back to Master Gender and have a look at that question.
The world was never meant to go back to normal, and the word normal never existed anyway. Society has always hidden behind the mask, but now we have the excuse to wear one. What's the future?
So Master Gender, I made these films as my mind was blown away as there was nobody expressing themselves and their views about lockdowns and the situation that was happening and the so-called pandemic. It also linked back to a character, Kain, I wanted to bring alive for a very long time in a film I made about 20 years ago, and I just was like the perfect scenario with this post-apocalyptic world happening around me to create these films. This was quite broad, but when I made this, it seemed like no one was questioning anything. It was pretty crazy when it first kicked off, not with the noise of the pandemic, no ambulances, but the silence, the deadness in the streets. It was quite disturbing. And I felt like we'll never return to normal, we'll never return back to what London was, and was I wrong? But you could also tell how people felt safe and looked after by their governments. It was like they're getting a day off school and sick pay, and they could sit at home and do all their tidy nice things. So much psychological manipulation, and not for the benefit of the people as much as people were brainwashed to believe. So it's essential we question that and what is our future. Whatever happens in this moment is determining our futures. Our thoughts, our actions in this present are contributing to a much larger picture, which we really need to be aware of.
This is our chance. We have to remember that this is just another existence, a different time, body and place. We've been in a loop and here many times. I don't fear death, as I know there's more. I've got this far on my own, but I feel weak. We can break free. No more chains. We can start the new world. I can't do this on my own. Together, we are stronger. I need you. Will you wake up?
I can't do this on my own. Together we are stronger. I need you. Will you wake up? Isn't that true? We can't do this on our own. This is not an individual process. This is a collective movement and we have to go through this together. Understand that there is only a few manipulating this situation. So if we end up fighting amongst each other, this is just going to separate us. Divide and conquer has been a tool used for a very long time in a way to destroy society and gain power. So we need to awake to this. I can understand why people don't sometimes want to look into the darkness and they just want to focus on the light, as it can be a negative, dark place. And in the short time we have on earth, we want to experience joy. Yes, we are manifestors, so we have to be careful of what we are creating. But if we do not look at this darkness, it will only grow as it has done for thousands of years. The more you resist, the more this will persist. Through the darkness comes light, and we need to make sure that light is the right one.
Like rats in a cage, everyone was affected, no matter how rich or poor. There was simply no escape. The police state is upon us now. What life will you choose?
The police state is upon us. What life will you choose? This is pretty obvious to what is happening, And if you don't think so, just take a look around the world and look at how the authorities are treating their citizens. It's very disturbing the way people's rights are being removed, the arrests and the laws changing, all for the benefit of our health. But when we look at the data behind all this, we can see it's something very wrong. It's all a matter of choice and what narrative we want to follow. Unfortunately, most of society has been sold this narrative, so they have consented. The question is asking what life you want to choose. What reality do you want to create? What is life? As it seems people do not question the most fundamental question of this reality. What do you want life to be? You are the creator of it, so why not focus on a good positive reality and not one that's being fed up to you by media channels? So here's Track and Trace, and let's have a look at that clip.
A digitised world with digitised humans within it. Once we had a choice, but now it was too late. Will we ever remember what it's truly like to be alive?
Will we ever remember what it's truly like to be alive? With this new technology being introduced for our safety and apparently to track our movements to protect us from the virus, this is when I realised how fast the world was falling asleep. As we enter deeper into the digital world, will we ever remember what it's like to live in a world without technology? Technology is a great tool, but when we are letting it rule our lives, it becomes very dangerous and it will turn into a controlled state. We must stay connected to the true essence of what we are, the natural rhythms of what we are, because we are human and that is how we evolve. We use technology to assist us, not for it to become us. So let's have a look at the Great Reset.
Dictatorships only exist with followers. You don't have to go with the obedient herd. There is another choice. Are you scared to be an individual? Or are you happy being the submissive slave?
Are you scared by being an individual, or are you happy being a submissive slave? This is so important for our times, and this video is having amazing success. A subject not too far out, but some still think it's a theory. I found through my time of living on planet Earth that most humans are scared to be an individual. And when all this started, the oppression was incredible and shocking. The way everything was locked down, people getting arrested for the most ridiculous situations, the censorship, it was all very disturbing, mainly because people had no voices. Freedom of speech seemed to have just died within a couple of weeks, and apparently all for our safety. So being an individual in these times is harder than ever, and social media programs people to believing they're in their righteous minds. So people have imprisoned themselves so they can't be individual. It's through the individual's choice which creates society. So on the other side of that, if we choose not to make our own choices, we will become a submissive slave. Maybe not straight away, but when we consent to their control, they have our will and can do as they wish. So here's cashless society.
Consciousness surpasses death. But what destruction will you leave behind? We have a window of opportunity, and we have it now. Will we take it? Will you?
We have a window of opportunity. Will we take it? Will you? We are at an amazing point in history. We are having the biggest economic shift and shift in many other ways on Earth. So I see this as a window of opportunity for us to awaken to these control structures around us, so we can live in a brighter world. A cashless society is not actually a bad concept, and making trading easier is actually a positive step. But the problem here is when it's in the hands of a few. This will create an even more oppressive society and heavier control. Being an individual is so important for your growth as society. It's good collectively, we all have the same goal, but individuals are influencers and people who can help develop society and empower other individuals to become stronger communities. So when we turn away from this negative story that's happened in the last 14 months, we can see that we have to change, and we have never had a better time to do so.
Mixed up in the lies and false realities, we have separated from our true selves. It's time we connected with the real story of what we are. We need to create our own narrative. Or do you prefer to live in someone else's script?
We need to create our own narrative, but do you prefer to live in someone else's script? I've mentioned this earlier, but we need to step out of their narrative. We need to create our own story and not consent to lies that are being told to us. As a lot of you know, people are so conditioned by the media that they believe it to be true. They even have conversations throughout the day cementing the stories that they read in the tabloids. It's a diversion tactic. That again can be very dangerous if people don't keep aware. So we have to create the story we want, and when I say story, I mean the reality around you. We will one day understand that we are holographic beings projecting reality out and creating our destiny for every minute we walk on this earth. We will get there. A good book here is The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. There's stories in here that help me look beyond the physical situation and see beyond the science we are taught on this planet. We are only just at the beginning of what we are as true humans. This is what we need to focus on, our positive development. So the next question comes from Property Seizure.
Yes, society needs a reset and reboot, but one that's controlled by us, that benefits us, that celebrates us. Our consciousness is expanding to the highest level within our human evolution. The time is now. Choose slavery or choose freedom. Will you seize this moment?
So the time is now. Choose slavery or choose freedom. Will you seize this moment? This is kind of echoing the other questions I asked previously, but it's about seizing this moment. We live in a difficult world that doesn't really help us be in the now. But by being in the moment, we utilize the power and energy, making the best and highest choices. When we're not in the moment, we will make decisions from fear and not from our hearts. That is when reality becomes distorted, and we have to listen and connect to ourselves so we can stay present in our thought. A good book which helped me years ago and train myself to be in the moment is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. We have to be in the moment because nothing else exists. The past has happened, but it's only a story. The future is only being created by the thoughts and brainwaves you're creating. So this moment is all you have. You cannot interfere with the motion of the universe. It's way beyond this reality, as much as some feel they can interfere with that. So now let's take a look at the distorted consciousness clip.
Through that painful and never-ending darkness came a brighter light. In a world where we cannot choose, our light becomes weak. Do you want your light to shine, or will you be overthrown by darkness?
So do you want your light to shine, or will you be overthrown by darkness? A lot of people don't want to project their light and express themselves. They find it easier to stay in darkness. It feels safe for them. And they have certainty for the short term, but long term they are carried along a conveyor belt and they are not even aware that they're moving too. This connects back to being an individual and voicing your thoughts. The true human does not want darkness, but through the years of trauma on this planet, people have attached to it and believe they need it as part of their growth. We live in a reality of light and dark, and one can't exist without the other. So I'm going to be discussing that in a lot more videos coming up. The next is the Dark Winter clip.
When we stood strong, understanding our true power, this could not affect us. Your life is your human sovereignty. Each life is crucial. Each life must be questioned. When do you give your power away? Where do you feel powerless?
So Dark Winter came from the idea of cyber polygon, which was floating around on the web. So where do you give your power away? Where do you feel powerless? People give their power to corporate organizations every day, not aware at all what these corporations invest in. They give their time to news channels who are only supporting the corporate elite. How we spend our time is very important. I have a saying, committed attention attracts supply. This is true in every way. Energy grows where attention flows. This comes back to being in the moment, because when we are in that moment, we won't feel powerless. So we have to stop feeding into these ridiculous narratives, otherwise we will submit without even realizing and follow into their darkness. So the next is safeguarding.
Once control and power is seized, life can never return back to normality. We must resist. We must break chains and ask the big questions. I have entered this dark place from which I cannot go back. Can you see what's ahead of you? How much of your life do you lead? Or do you let others continuously lead you?
Can you see what's ahead of you, or do you let others continuously lead you? As the series went on, I started to elaborate more from the questions I had already asked. Also, as the pandemic went on, I was amazed at the way people couldn't see what was happening. Unbelievable, to be honest, and I still am. So we need to see what's ahead of us and how these current situations will have long-term effects on society and our health. I do not watch TV, but when I switched on some of the internet's news reports, I couldn't believe what they were saying and the contradictions they were continuously making day by day. So it's important we see what's ahead. It's not good if we lead down this path. The next is the depopulation clip.
Do you think for yourself? Do you trust yourself even when your views may be different from the masses? Ask the bigger question. How can you move through this world with integrity in every moment?
How can you move through this world with integrity in every moment? Integrity seems to be very hard for some. I was shocked as a child to find out some of the biggest industries on the planets were the arms trades. This was more a question for our leaders and the psychological manipulation that was going on. I'd seen so many businesses shutting down around London, people going crazy from lockdowns, and how someone could go home at night knowing they had destructively affected people, a lot of people's lives like this, I really don't know. To evolve and ascend from this planet, we must move with integrity and operate from truth from our hearts. How did we reach a point in our world where we have secret technology being built and hidden from the public that could help harness our evolution and grow humanity positively? It's beyond me. Here's the clip.
The old world would never come back. Many were still angry, disorientated by the transition, looking for someone to blame. But it was only their denial of the shadow that led to this dark world. Where do you pave the steps into a new world? How would you contribute to making the world brighter? Do you question your shadow?
How do you contribute to making this world brighter? Do you question your shadow? I feel the shadow self is a key part to all that's happening at the moment, and the reason why these covert secret projects go on around the world. Humans have suppressed themselves for a very long time, so we have to question our emotions and see what's triggering us in these moments. We are the creators of this reality, and if we choose not to believe that, someone else is going to create the reality for us. And that's exactly what's happening. So question your fears, your conflicts. Remember, everyone is connected and only in vibration with what you're feeling within yourself. So once you start questioning your own actions, you will start to see the reality shift around you.
So what path do you choose? Do you want to be empowered? Are you ready to emerge anew? Or do you choose to be a victim and allow the atrocities to expand?
Do you choose to be a victim or allow the atrocities to expand? As this was the end of the series, this is kind of summarizing all the questions, but you are not a victim. And I see so many that play the victim in this world. We have chosen this reality at some level, whether we were conscious of that or unconscious, whatever. Our vibrational field attracted this experience. So if we do not want this to continue, we have to question ourselves. No one on this planet is a victim, and when we empower ourselves, we find that these negative situations will just dissolve. So I hope you found that useful. I will be doing other videos like this and going into the content and discussing the subject matter within the videos in the future. And really, again, just the biggest thank you to all of you for bringing these videos to another level. You have helped these go to where they are. The audience is what matters here, and you guys bring this alive. And if you didn't know already, I have created a Patreon where I want to raise the bar with finance for Series 3. So I can take this to a much bigger and deeper level. I have made the first 2 series with no budget except for the kind donations from you lovely people. So just think what I can do with a budget. So the 3rd series is coming in the next couple of weeks, and be prepared to be excited. I have been writing a lot and have some excellent characters and new concepts coming in. I love you guys and thank you so much for all your support. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you sharing, liking, and all the interactions you do on these videos. So thanks again, and until next week, I will see you then.